Greetings, it's Ian from RTO here. Welcome to a one-off album review where we just do them albums that there's only one, the band or the artist only did the one. But before we do that, just a quick reminder that Sunday at midnight is the closing date for Battle Royale, so if you haven't got your entry in, you have got till Sunday. Anyway, let's get back to this one-off album, and the album is by Marshall Hain. Now, Marshall Hain were a pop duo that comprised of keyboard player Julian Marshall and vocalist and bass player Kit Hain, who met when they were pupils. My phone needs charging. Pupils at a school called Dartington High School. So they only released this one album. Now, in the UK it was released as Free Ride, but in America it was called Dancing in the City. So before we go on the thing, Julian Marshall, if you recognise his name, you should do, because he went on to form the Flying Lizards, part of that band. So he went on to do that, but when they split up, Kit Hain, she made an album, and then she moved to the United States in 1985, and she was a successful songwriter. She's wrote songs that she's written. You probably recognise some of these: Fires of Eden, that Judy Collins and Cher co-wrote; Back to Avalon, Heart; Rip in Heaven, Crash and Burn by Till Tuesday. She wrote From Further Fantasy for Annie Haslam, and Remain in My Heart and Every Time We Fall, Lee Sagonga. Some of her songs have also been recorded by artists such as Roger Daltrey, Kiki Dee, Barbara Dixon, Fleetwood Mac, Kim Criswell, Conchita Wurst, and Milo and Stan Van Samhang. Not with that, she has actually written books as well, using a married name, Kit Grinstaff. Wrote novels for teens and pre-teens, and her debut book was The Flame in the Mist in 2013. So what a multi-talented person is Kit Hain. She wrote songs, you just don't realise what she did when she left. They split up Marshall Hain. So let's have a look at this album, as it's called Free Ride here in the UK, released in 1978 and released in the US as Dancing in the City. So on here we've got lead vocals by Miss Kit Hain. Guitars were Glenn Nightingale, Phil Farmer and Tim Hain, probably a relation of some sort to Kit. Drums were supplied by Harold Fisher on some and Peter Van Hook on others. The bass was done by Dave Only. Saxophone was Chris Mercer. Harmonica Chris Neal. Marimba and percussion Frank Ricotti. Keyboards, of course, Julian Marshall and Jeff Westley. So let's have a look at the tracks on the album. First one's called A Different Point. Now this is certainly one of the better tracks on the album. It's got a great solo on it, and I loved Kit's vocals. She had a really sort of husky voice sometimes, and then this is quite funky. I don't mind this track. The next track is the one that everybody knows, and that is Dancing in the City. Great track, was a huge hit. It's just a classic 70s song for me. Let Me Get You Too. Really funky bass line here by obviously Kit, or because I know she plays bass. Could be Kit or it could be Dave Only. You just don't know. all this information. There's not much. So it's a great vocal from Kit again. It's a really interesting song. Real Satisfaction. It's got a bit of that reggae feel to it. I like that track. It's really good. Coming Home. Kit's vocals are great, but it's a bit wishy-washy. Take My Rumber. It's a bit of a jam here on the piano. I think it's Julian having a bit of a phone. Let me get the title track on the UK version, Free Ride. Yeah, this is a weird one. All I can say, it reminds me of what you call 1970s porn music. Yeah, it's not very good. Take My Number. It's got that 1970s keyboard vibe, you know, that sort of vacuous elevator music or lift music. Yes. Misses the Train. All over the place. 1 minute it's a disco song, then it becomes bluesy. The pitch of the vocals don't sound right. It's pretty groggy. Back to the Green. It's not too bad. It's listenable. I've heard worse. Anyway, how did it do in the charts? Well, it only the album only made it into charts in 3 countries: 56 in Australia, 44 in Germany, and number 4 in Iceland. Wow. But of course the single Dancing in the City was a huge hit all over the world, and it got a gold disc. So it was number 3 here in the UK, number 3 in Australia, 6 in Austria, number 40 in Canada, got to number 1 in Germany, number 2 in Ireland, Netherlands number 14, New Zealand number 15, South Africa number 1, Sweden 7, Switzerland 4, and number 43 in America. Okay, I must admit I never really heard the album. The only song that I know, of course, is Dancing in the City. So when Dave said it's on Spotify, go and we'll do a review of this. Okay, he does set me some challenges. So I listened to it for a little while, and I must admit it doesn't set the world on fire. It's got 1 or 2 nice tracks on it, but oh dear, there are some rather iffy stuff on this. It's a reasonable listen, but I wouldn't say it's a classic. Of course, Dancing in the City is a fantastic song, and I think that's what that Marshall Hain will be always remembered for, is that single and not the album. So I'm going to give this a moderate 6 out of 10, because it has got some highlights on it. Okay, that's all for today, but I'll be back tomorrow. So Saturday, that only means one thing, doesn't it, if we're doing something on Saturday? Yes, it's me and Richard, and we're going to look at a challenge that actually Richard set, and it's for B-sides, our favourite B-sides that weren't on albums. Difficult task, but we managed to do it, so I'm looking forward to that one. Just to say thank you very much for all your messages after the last 48 hours. They haven't been very kind to me, but we're coping, and you know, if it weren't for this channel, I think I'd be pulling what hair I have got left out. So thank you very much for your messages. Some of them were from, you know, via Instagram, and which is very nice when they come personally from people, especially people you don't expect to get messages from. So thank you very much. You all know who you are. I won't embarrass you. But I will see you tomorrow with Richard. Bye for now.